This is what I'm talking about. These kids have no respect for authority. Every day we're seeing the result of no structure in the homes. There's a video going viral now on social media showing a substitute teacher and a student fussing and tussling, tumbling and rolling all over the floor. We're going to get into that, but first, take a second to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and click the notification bell for all updates. Rocky Mount, North Carolina, what's going on down there? If you're watching from Rocky Mount, Tarboro, Goldsboro, Greenville, let me know below in the comments. Police say they were called to investigate an assault at Rocky Mount High School on Monday morning. The incident took place between a student and a substitute teacher. That teacher has been identified by police as Xavier Steele, who has worked for the school system approximately 1 year. Police said there were no injuries reported, and the incident remains under active investigation by Rocky Mount Police. The argument started towards the end of first period after the student was doing something that prompted the substitute teacher to confiscate her cell phone. The student got mad because the teacher wouldn't give her her phone back and wanted her to sit down. The teenager refused to return to her seat and continued to argue with the substitute, further escalating the issue. The girl was asking why didn't the rule apply to everyone else, and the substitute teacher responded, "It does apply to everybody." At some point, I heard the student curse at the teacher as she was getting into the woman's space, and the substitute kept telling her not to put her hands on her. The girl kept reaching around her and trying to snatch the phone from the substitute. She swung on her, then the teacher started swinging back. Both of them continued to swing on each other and fell to the floor. The substitute started yelling for the kids to go and get a teacher. Instead, all of them just sat there recording while the substitute's bare behind was all out. I'll get into that in a second. It was really crazy. Now, there's a policy that states if any employee is attacked by a student, the employee has the right to reasonably restrain the student to defend themselves to the point that they are free of the threat or attack. From what I saw, the substitute teacher defended herself. Once she got her to the ground and the girl stopped, the teacher just held her down until somebody else came in. Now, as far as cell phone use goes, their policy code notes that administrators may authorize individual students to use wireless communication devices for personal purposes when there is a reasonable need for such communication. So it sounds like they may be prohibited from using cell phones unless authorized by administrators, or they're using it for something reasonable, like maybe an emergency. The student was not supposed to be using the phone at the time, which is probably why the teacher took it. Unfortunately, she did not want to listen. The problem is this girl didn't want to be reprimanded, so she started bucking up at the teacher. She had no business getting in the teacher's face, one as a student who was under the supervision and authority of the substitute, and two as a child, running up in a grown woman's face and questioning her authority as if she was a grown woman too, even cursing at the teacher. All of that was out of order. She was apparently doing something in class that she wasn't supposed to do. The substitute disciplined her by taking the phone away from her, so then the girl just jumped up and basically had this attitude like, who are you to discipline me? Not wanting to follow her instructions and also not wanting to be held accountable either. We're talking about the lack of discipline, the disrespect of authority. Where do you think she learned this from? Yes, the student was out of order. And by the way, Summer Walker, this is what you get when you let your daughter put hands on you. They grow up and, like the old folks used to say, they start getting too big for their britches. This is why no child should be raised without a father. And another reason why the feminists made a big mistake, pushing men out of the schools and the homes. Now you got these kids jumping up in teachers' faces, and this is at a high school. But they're also doing this in middle schools and elementary school. You have little kids 8 and 9 years old cursing out grown people at the school. And then the kids and the parents, they are never held accountable. It's like the teachers don't have any rights, which is why teachers are quitting left and right. Less people are choosing to become teachers, and they're also having a hard time finding substitutes. Remember that story I covered a while ago from the Shreveport area? The school system there having to beg people to come and apply to be a substitute teacher.
The reason some schools are struggling to stay open is because of teachers calling out sick. Caddo Parish Schools tell us they're also in critical need of substitute teachers.
This is Lisa Woolfolk, the Chief Human Resource Officer for Caddo Parish Schools. Right now, she's sitting at her desk in the main district office, but lately she's had to take on multiple roles.
All of our divisions where we had certified employees that weren't already in the classroom, they were deployed. We are in a critical shortage for subs right now.
Now, don't get me wrong, there are some bad substitute teachers out there, and there are some bad teachers out there too, but most of them are good and undervalued. As far as the substitute teacher here, first, I have to admit that she's out of order for that tight outfit. Ma'am, your clothes are too tight. When you have big legs and all that going on, you gotta buy your skirts a little bit longer and looser, because when you don't, you're gonna be pulling all day, and pulling every second is just silly, especially when working around children. Your clothes have to fit properly. Let's start there. And yes, I understand she could have done nothing. She could have ran out of the classroom and got the principal or something. But let me tell you something. When these kids get flipped at the mouth and you don't correct them, next thing you know, all of them start trying it. They all start testing you, which is why when these kids get out of hand, especially the big ones in high school, something's got to be done. And those kids are big. You don't just let them sit up there and hit on you. They'll have you leaving out on a stretcher. I guess they said forget this job and forget these kids, because at that moment, she was not thinking about that job anymore. She's probably going to have a bigger problem here though. You have people who saw this all over the place. It went viral. The police, they're investigating and they're probably going to try to press charges on her. I don't know. She could get arrested or end up with a record. And if that happens, it's going to make it harder for her to get another job, which sucks because it was a student who got physical with her. But you know, in situations like this, it's like the adults, they don't have any rights. Everybody just expect for these teachers not to defend themselves. It's like sometimes they'll say it's not okay to do it, and the other times you're a hero. But with a lot of people who are experiencing these issues in the system, they're noticing that it's not worth it. This student ran all up in her face, in her space. That was out of order, especially in an argument when that child had no business arguing with a grown woman anyway. When the teacher told her to sit down and she wasn't getting that phone, she should have sat down and did as she was told. But you can't tell them nothing because they haven't learned the basics of discipline and respecting authority. Really respecting anybody. They are learning this bad behavior at home. Is the teacher going to get fired? Yes, more than likely she will be fired. Because of the optics of it all, they're probably going to ignore their own policy where teachers in that system are allowed to defend themselves until they are free from the threat. But I think we all know how this is going to go. The good thing about the substitute is if she ends up unemployed for a period of time, she has her husband, she's married, so she's not going to go through this alone. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. 9 times out of 10, nothing is going to happen to this student, but what do you think should happen to the substitute? All I know is these out-of-control parents need to get a hold of their out-of-control kids, because before you know it, there won't be anybody left that's willing to go and take care of your kids all day and teach them and work with them. And they all know it's true because during the pandemic, a lot of them didn't want to keep their own children. Remember that? And then what do you think about the student in this situation? She went on Instagram and said that she was mad at her classmates for not helping her. Special thank you to BX Panda and Bob C. I appreciate you all for your support. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.